Hello comparison test viewers, and welcome back to another All Cars Everyday video. I'm standing here with the 2020 Hyundai Venue, which is a brand new model in Hyundai's lineup for this model year. Let's see how it stacks up against the competition. And in today's comparison, that competition comes in the form of two Kia SUVs, the Soul and the Seltos. This is the Soul. And this is the Seltos, the newest of the three models in today's comparison. I'm comparing the three models in 7 different categories and assigning an advantage to each vehicle in each of those categories. Also, I'm comparing each SUV at a certain trim line without adding any options or packages to that trim line to keep the comparison as fair as possible. So more specifically, I'm comparing the Soul and Seltos S trims as well as the Venue SEL. With that out of the way, let's get into our first area of evaluation, which is value. The 2020 Hyundai Venue SEL has an MSRP of $19,250. The exterior of the small SUV features projector beam headlights, 15-inch alloy wheels, and roof rails. The inside has cloth seating surfaces with a 6-way manually adjustable driver's seat, and the passenger gets 4 ways. Technology in the Venue revolves around the 8-inch color touchscreen in the dashboard, featuring Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Bluetooth with voice recognition as well as steering wheel mounted controls. Interestingly, this screen size matches the more expensive Seltos that we'll take a look at later in this comparison. Music is played through a 6-speaker audio system. In the gauge cluster is a second screen, which is a smaller 3.5-inch LCD unit. It displays key vehicle information like trip distance, maintenance reminders, outside temperature, and fuel range. When it comes to convenience features, the Venue has 2 charge-only USB ports as well as 1 for auxiliary input. The driver's side window has an express up feature, and there's a 12-volt outlet in the cabin. Finally, the little Venue has automatic climate control in this SEL trim, the only of its kind in these 3 SUVs. If this isn't enough for your SEL Venue, there are 2 content-loaded packages available, called the Convenience and Premium package. I didn't include either of these 2 in my comparison, because in order to get the Premium package, you have to also add the Convenience package, which would have priced our competitive little Venue out of the budget for my target price. That said, you can get heated seats and mirrors, a power moonroof, more advanced safety features, LED exterior lighting, navigation, a proximity key, and bigger wheels, among other small features. This will run you about $22,150. Still a very reasonable price for a car with such capability, but this would have made the Venue the priciest car in the comparison, and I was not willing to make that leap. The 2021 Kia Soul S has an MSRP $1,240 higher than the Venue, tipping the scales at $20,290. It comes with 1-inch bigger rims at 16 inches and multi-reflector headlights and roof rack mounting points on the exterior. Overall, very similar features to the Venue. On the inside, the Soul doesn't vary too much from the little Hyundai either, with a 6-way manual driver's seat and the same 4 ways for the passenger. The seat trim is a slightly higher premium tricot cloth, but technology features are nearly identical. The Soul has a 7-inch screen in the dash and another 3.5-inch LCD screen in the instrument cluster. They have the same features as the Venue, including Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Bluetooth with steering wheel mounted controls. Audio goes through 6 speakers, and even the driver's side window has the same express up feature. However, the Soul has a more traditional single zone air conditioning system as opposed to the Venue's automatic unit. The 2021 Kia Seltos S has the highest MSRP of $21,990, or about $1,700 more than the Soul and $2,500 more than the Venue. Though more expensive, it's also got more features standard. Let's see if it can make up for the price difference with what's offered on this S trim. Starting with the outside of the car, there are heated mirrors with turn signal indicators and 17-inch alloy wheels. The headlights and fog lights are projector beam units, but there are LED daytime running lights and taillights. There are roof rails, and opting for the 2-tone roof is a no-cost option if that's up your alley. On the inside, the seats are cloth and Sofino trimmed with blue stitching, though the gear selector and steering wheel are leather wrapped. The driver's seat is manually adjustable 6 ways, and the passenger seat is adjustable 4 ways, like the other vehicles. Even the rear seat has 2-step recline. The infotainment system in the Seltos lives in an 8-inch unit in the center console, and it contains voice recognition through Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and Siri Eyes Free. Like the other vehicles in this test, the Seltos has steering wheel mounted controls that can control some of the audio and infotainment system functions. Behind the steering wheel is the gauge cluster, which has 2 analog gauges for the speedometer and tachometer, and a small LCD screen for the driver information center. Upgrade to the SX Turbo model and you get a 7-inch screen here standard. Like the other in-gauge screens in this test, it tells the driver key information about the car, including MPG, mileage, tire pressures, and more. Convenience features in the Seltos S include 2 12-volt power outlets and an express up and down window for the driver. The Seltos has manual climate control like the Soul, which is in line for the price point, but also highlights the benefit of the automatic system in the Venue. There are lots of ways to play music off your phone, including Bluetooth, an aux port, and a USB audio port. Regardless of which method you use, sounds are played through the Seltos S's 6-speaker sound system. A premium Bose audio system is standard on the SX Turbo if there are any audiophiles in the audience. As far as I can tell, the Venue has the advantage in this category. The Seltos might offer more features in terms of bigger wheels, heated mirrors, fog lights, and LED taillights, but I don't know that those features by themselves justify a $2,500 premium over the Venue, which even has automatic climate control. The Soul has very similar features to the Venue, save for missing out on the automatic climate control and the Venue's smaller wheels. Of course, this price disparity can be somewhat attributed to other factors than purely interior and exterior content, such as vehicle size and powertrain. However, we get to those categories later in the comparison. In this category, we look at the active safety features of each SUV, as well as the passive NHTSA crash test ratings. Typically, I prefer to use the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety crash test ratings for comparison purposes, but unfortunately, the IIHS has not rated the Venue and Seltos yet, so we will stick with the NHTSA. The Venue SEL with the convenience package has an adequate amount of active safety technology, including forward collision avoidance assist with pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, driver attention warning, and high beam assist. It got a 4-star overall rating from the NHTSA out of their possible 5 stars. The 2021 Kia Soul covers the basis for what the Venue offers standard, including lane keeping assist, driver attention warning, and forward collision avoidance assist without pedestrian detection, but it also has blind spot collision warning, rear cross traffic collision assist, and lane change assist. The NHTSA also rated the Soul 4 out of 5 stars in their crash testing. The Seltos sounds like a broken record with respect to the Venue, offering nearly identical features. Included are forward collision avoidance assist, a driver attention warning, high beam assist, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, and lane following assist. The same can be said for its NHTSA rating, which is also 4 stars. I am very curious to see how these 3 SUVs perform in the IIHS's more comprehensive testing in the future. In this category, the Soul has the advantage, as it's the only vehicle to offer blind spot collision warning and rear cross traffic assist. The Venue did have pedestrian detection, but overall, I think the Soul offers the best choice from an active safety standpoint. Advantage could change in the future as new crash test ratings become available. All standard active safety features across these 3 models were very similar. The Venue has a 1.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, making 121 horsepower and 113 pound-feet of torque. It's not going to win any drag races with a 0-60 time of 8.8 seconds, but the little engine does a good job in the Venue. It's mated to an IVT, or Intelligent Variable Transmission in Hyundai speak. It's very similar to a CVT, which uses infinitely swappable ratios to keep the engine either in its power band, or in the case of most continuous transmissions, at the engine's most efficient frontier. The Venue is front-wheel drive. Sadly for northern consumers, all-wheel drive is not offered. That would require stepping up to a bigger, more expensive model elsewhere in the lineup. The Venue does have normal, sport, and snow driving modes, however. The Kia Soul has a 2.0-liter inline 4-cylinder, making 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of twist. It's mated to the same IVT and has sport and normal driving modes. Predictably, based on the horsepower difference, the Soul is slightly faster than the Venue, getting to 60 miles per hour in 8.3 seconds. The Seltos has the same engine as the Soul, but makes 1 less horsepower and the same torque. Like the other 2, it uses the corporate IVT for shifting purposes, but is a tad slower than the Soul due to its additional weight. The Seltos is the only of these 3 SUVs to offer all-wheel drive, but for the sake of this comparison, I've kept the Seltos in its front-wheel drive trim. In this category, the Soul has the advantage with a bigger and more powerful engine than the Venue, but outrunning the bigger Seltos in a drag race. Again, all very similar powertrains. In fact, the Soul and Seltos are nearly identical. Powertrain shouldn't change the choice of your SUV if you happen to be picking between these 3. The Venue is an absolute fuel miser, achieving 30 miles per gallon of gas in the city and 34 on the highway, for a combined 32 mpg. The Soul's bigger engine sips fuel at a slightly higher rate at 27 miles per gallon in the city and 33 on the highway for 30 combined. The Seltos gets the same city economy but loses a couple to the Soul on the highway with 30. That equates to 29 combined mpg. This all makes sense as the Seltos is the biggest vehicle in test with the same engine as the Soul. However, the Venue takes the advantage, offering a pretty significant gap between its fuel numbers and the 2 Kias due to its smaller engine and size. I get this statistic from Consumer Reports, which extensively tests every new model for sale and uses historical data to give a new car reliability prediction on a scale from much worse than average to much better than average. The Venue and Seltos both received a rating of average from the organization, where the Soul got much better than average. The Seltos and Venue are very new compared to the Soul, so I wouldn't be surprised to see their ratings increase as more data on the cars is available, but for the time being, the Soul gets the advantage in this category. In this category, I wrap up the objective parts of the comparison and include any important buying factors that don't fit into any other category like space for cargo and space for passengers, as well as warranty information. The rear bench seat of each SUV folds in 60/40 sections, allowing for different cargo and seating configurations. All three vehicles also have industry-leading 10-year, 100,000-mile warranties. When it comes to interior headroom, the Venue and Soul are down only about a half inch in the front. The Soul has the most rear headroom, maybe due to its boxy design, with 39.5 inches. The other two vehicles are both down an inch. All are very close in front legroom, but the Soul and Seltos have about 4 more inches of legroom in the back, at approximately 38 inches, which is much bigger than the Venue. The Soul and Seltos have the same shoulder room measurements, and the Venue is slightly smaller once again. Hip room up front is pretty similar across the board, but the Venue is nearly 10 inches smaller in rear hip room. Essentially, the big difference here is that the rear of the Venue is much smaller than the other two SUVs. If you utilize that back seat space for full-size adults often, I would recommend either the Soul or Seltos. When it comes to cargo space, the Venue is again the smallest with 18.7 cubic feet behind the rear seats, and that expands to 31.9 when those seats are folded down. The Soul is next biggest with a larger cargo hold of 24.2 cubic feet. That expands to a whopping 62.1 with the seats down. Notably, the Seltos has only 2.4 cubic feet more in the cargo hold at 26.6, and less than a foot more when the seats are down at 62.8. The Soul is a packaging marvel. I think the boxy styling allowed it to punch above its weight class in this area, and as a result, I will give it the advantage. In this category, I do a light design analysis of both the interior and exteriors of each SUV. However, it's important to remember that styling is purely subjective. It's important to draw your own conclusions as I run through what I think looks good about each SUV. The Seltos has interesting headlights, and they're growing on me steadily. It's displaying a design tendency more toward off-roading than the others, whether it actually performs better or not. The rear of the car is brought together by a horizontal bright piece connecting the tail lamps, which are fairly anonymous when it comes to taillight design. The Seltos implements the black trim piece cut line in the C-pillar back here, a trend which is sweeping through the SUV segment like wildfire. I've seen better applications, but I've also seen worse applications. The Soul has moved away from its cute styling of yore and is no longer the friendly-looking hamstermobile of 2012. Instead, it looks more mean and aggressive than anything else, with a furrowed brow line for the vehicle's running lights up front. The lower grille's trapezoidal shape works well, and somehow reminds me of the face mask on a football helmet. Either way, I like the front of the new Soul. The rear of the vehicle uses the same floating roof cut line in the C-pillar that I just talked about with the Seltos, but the Soul uses anything but anonymous taillights. In fact, you'd be able to recognize the Soul from any distance at night with its giant one-piece taillights. To me, this is a love it or hate it feature. Fortunately for Kia, I happen to love it. Soul buyers tend to be more bold than the average consumer, so I think Kia may have another styling hit on its hands here. The Venue is a very competitive design. It rides the border well between being too little and just enough styling. Kia and Hyundai are very into the small slit for the running lights as seen in the Soul, Santa Fe, and Palisade. At worst, the Venue matches the rest of the family branding. At best, it's a unique design in a small package. The Venue can come with different roof colors like the Seltos, but has managed to avoid the black cut line in the C-pillar. The taillights are an amorphous shape, but have a very textured design inside. The rear also mimics designs from Range Rover and Volvo in the Evoque and XC40. That's a huge compliment, because both of those vehicles are double the little Hyundai's price tag. On the interiors, the Seltos is well appointed, and in modern Hyundai Kia fashion, appears to do a solid job of mocking German SUV design. Screen placement mimics BMW, as does the transmission tunnel design. Though slightly unoriginal, it seems more upscale than the Kia's price tag gives off. The interior of the Soul matches the vehicle's philosophy, but I don't think the inside is as cool as the exterior. It's hard to match in the first place, but whereas the exterior has matured since 2012, the interior still relies heavily on exaggerated shapes that don't match the exterior. The Venue has a better transmission tunnel design where the gear shifter and climate control are. Screen and vent placement are better too, but it isn't quite up to par with the Seltos. The underside of the dashboard near the footwells is too upright for me as well. In this category, I will give the Seltos the advantage for having an interior a step above anything else I've seen in the segment, and an exterior that I can generally get behind. Bonus points to the Soul exterior and the Venue's overall package, though. These three SUVs are very competent offerings from the Hyundai Kia sister brands, potentially even segment-defining vehicles. I can't declare an outright winner. After all, they are in slightly different segments. The Venue has a great value proposition and is probably the smartest choice for city dwellers or those that want a smaller SUV while retaining some ride height. For me personally, it's a toss-up between the Soul and Seltos, though. The Soul is a packaging marvel and probably the most responsible choice of the three. My sensible brain wants this vehicle. However, the Seltos feels the biggest in person and carries a road presence the Soul doesn't, despite its aggressive styling. I could really go either way, but no matter which of these three you choose, you should be getting a quality vehicle. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like. Otherwise, have a good day. Overall, these three SUVs are very competent offerings from the Hyundai Kia sister brands, potentially even segment-defining vehicles.